Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And folks, we've had a lot of anniversaries coming and going in this crazy year of ours. We just recently did the 20th anniversary of The Emperor's New Groove. But before the year's out, we wanted to touch on a cultural touchstone of sorts, something that while it's not quite Toy Story in terms of how many people grew up with it and were affected by it. For the people that did grow up with it, it's a major part of a lot of childhoods here, folks. We're talking Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, The Adventure Begins, the 20th anniversary retrospective podcast. That's right. So Dragon, yeah, it's we just had to get this in before the year's out. We're a little late on the actual anniversary date, but I got to tell you, buddy, you're the man for this job because I remember this one. I remember watching it maybe once or twice. I vividly remember the Toy Story tie-in. The framing device, if you will, the VHS tape, and it was kind of like one of my first tastes of like, oh my god, it's like they have this piece of media in the actual universe. It was kind of one of my first pieces of world building in that regard. But and that's kind of the thing that's fascinated me the most about the show. And Dragon, the show itself, I like it. If it ever comes to Disney Plus, I'll definitely give it a binge. I don't love the show the same way you do. I think it's a little bit repetitive, and I can only take so much camp. But the characters are nice. They're well defined. They get a good origin story in this movie. This movie's got a decent clip to it. It's got some good action. It's got some good scale to it, and a lot of fun gags and character humor and character work. So while I certainly think that you're going to be the one with more to say here, I'm along for the ride. I like this one well enough. I don't think it's a masterpiece by anything, but I think it by any means. But I think it is a really interesting piece of Pixar media, if you will, because like I said, it's one of the first. Not only is it this weird kind of like tie-in where this piece of media definitively, like in canon, exists in the Toy Story universe, which, like I said, most fascinating thing about this whole exercise. But also, it's one of the first things we've ever seen Pixar do in terms of 2D. I know Pixar themselves didn't do this, but Pixar characters animated in 2D. So also, Dragon, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the cool kind of tie-in with isn't it crazy that 20 years later, 20 years after this show was conceived, we're getting like a hyper-realistic Buzz Lightyear movie?
Crazy.
It's just kind of like serendipitous the way that happened.
All
right, my friends. All right, Dragon, I am giving you the conch. The conch. I am letting you speak, Dragon.
All right. So I love Buzz Lightyear Star Command. I adore the show. I mean, main reason you can probably guess, I adore the Toy Story franchise, and of course, which includes very big Buzz Lightyear within that franchise. So you can imagine kind of connect the dots there. But it's I mean, you gotta remember, Tiki, this was right after the high for me that was Toy Story 2. And of course, at the top of Toy Story 2, you had the Buzz Lightyear video game opening, which in itself was amazing. And again, kind of gave credence to the whole, like, the Buzz Lightyear kind of, like, franchise idea. Like, there's a whole, universe that Buzz Lightyear is based on, and kind of was so big, kind of made itself in the toy form, like most shows, and kind of had toy deals. I mean, most shows come from toy deals in the first place, so it's a fact, though.
Yeah.
I remember when this thing came out, and again, Toy Story 2 is always probably one of the most special Pixar films in my heart, because that was like the one I was able to go, that was the first Pixar film I saw in theaters. That was, even though it came out in November, it felt like the summer blockbuster in my heart. It always will be. Because I mean, it was just really special. And
Sure.
Around this time, like, again, after Toy Story, I remember I got these cards, like imagine they're kind of like the size of postcards, but they were like lithographs from Toy Story 2, a whole bunch of images and cards. And when I got these things, I got like like a giant cardboard standee that put on you can put on a wall. It's like a standee, but it doesn't stand. You can put it on like a wall, like a poster of Buzz Lightyear.
I know what you're talking about. I had one of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man
and I
back
had
in
one.
the day.
I had one because they put merchandise out for The Adventure Begins, and I had one for because basically the way they kind of spun it out is that now the show. I'm going to get into this with the background. Essentially, the show was done, but the movie came out first. And they were kind of hyping up the series and the movie with this like standees and stuff like that, and it's kind of the giant like poster of the animated Buzz Lightyear from the show on my wall for many years as a kid. And of course they had like the toys and the Happy Meal time. I remember I had the Happy Meal thing where basically you could build 42, the Star Cruiser, individually with all Buzz and the crew on the ship, and like XR was kind of like the R2D2 sticking out of the end of it. It was really cool. Again, I say. Oh my God, for this. This was my Saturday morning cartoon, Tiki. I mean, Batman Animated Series was not a Saturday morning thing for me, even though I know originally it was kind of made like that. But this was like the one I woke up early in the morning for as a kid. This was big for me. I mean, the block was you had Recess, Buzz Lightyear Star Command, Weekenders, and Teacher's Pet. Like that essentially was kind of that block.
Nice.
ABC. It was, again, as you kind of alluded to, again, this is the perfect in-universe kind of...
One Saturday morning, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, Saturday morning, yeah.
The iconic One Saturday Morning lineup.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this the show itself, is the perfect in-universe kind of expanded story of the Buzz Lightyear IP, which it just boggled my mind as a kid. Like, oh my God, this is the stuff Buzz was deluded by.
Right.
And again, it's kind of mixing. Basically, it was kind of mixing my two loves as a kid. It was mixing Pixar with Batman, something akin to Batman the Animated Series. Which again was like, oh my God, Buzz Lightyear in 2D, and it was like an animated show, and it was it was awesome. It was just seeing kind of what Disney could do in their Saturday mornings. It was astonishing. It was it was cool. It was sci-fi. It was very funny at times. Basically, long story short, this was kind of the Star Trek I could invest in as a kid. Or Star Trek, oh my gosh, a bunch of boring guys in colored shirts just sitting around all day.
Right.
I can't get into this. What is this? And of course, Next Generation. I know it's a lot. Folks, I mean, I'm not a big Star Trek guy, but I'm well aware there's a lot more to it than that. Now, I'm just saying, back as a kid, like, what are these guys in colored shirts? What's going on here?
Pointy ears. What's with the pointy ears?
Yeah. Whether it's John Luke or Captain Kirk.
Some of them have like weird, fucked up face makeup. What's with that?
Exactly. But yeah, this is something there was Star Trek I could invest in because obviously I had Buzz Lightyear, and when this came out, of course, the whole. There was a Disney direct-to-video VHS tape, which got even more heady once you get into the start of the thing with the VHS tape appearing in the movie.
Right.
But yeah, it was.
Okay, so you said you had background on this?
Yes, I do. The background on this is okay. So Tad Stones, the guy who did Darkwing Duck. Remember that? I know you do. So Tad Stones wanted to do a sci-fi show, and basically at that time, the only way you can get like an original idea for a time was you had to use an existing IP at Disney. So that's kind of what he did there. Okay, Toy Story is big. This is like after the first Toy Story comes out. The original pitch that he made was, okay, I want to do a sci-fi show, so I'm going to try Buzz Lightyear here. And doing that, let's do a Buzz Lightyear animated show. He's pitching the whole show, which eventually would include the movie, between Toy Story and Toy Story 2 to hype people up for Toy Story 2, right?
Yeah.
Got the okay from Eisner, but then there's a conflict. The conflict is, they don't want to interrupt the hype of Toy Story 2. Like, it's Toy Story 2. They saw the first movie. We don't need anything in between. Let's not waste the momentum here. And they haven't said this officially, but I imagine with the video game opening Pixar's developing, and you got to remember, Toy Story 2 is a very troubled production, so I don't think they have time to contemplate like a series and getting involved in that, like in a kind of a consultancy sort of thing. And ultimately, just kind of they move it to after Toy Story 2, hence all the nostalgia I just kind of laid out there. So, there were other really out there pitches, Tiki. Like, there were some, like, short spin-offs. I don't know if they were supposed to be short films or other short series or what the deal was, but they were pitching, like, Woody's Roundup as, like, an alternate reality, like Old West meets...
I've heard about that one, yeah.
I still don't believe that's real, but apparently there's concept there.
Dragon, did you know there was a Woody's Roundup show at Disneyland that was like all black and white sets and characters.
Yeah, I think you told me about that once.
I think I did tell you about that. Yeah,
that's awesome. Still, I'm a little gobsmacked by just thinking about it. You had like the LGMs are going to have a show. Basically what they're doing now with the Little Green Man with like the Pixar Fest, they're putting them all in the Pixar outfits. Like, what if we put them like in odd job outfits? That was pretty much
right.
And the last one was the most exciting one, Combat Carl Action Adventures, which was a 2D Combat Carl show.
Dude, they still need to do that on Disney Plus, even if it's like 5-minute like G.I. Joe public service announcement type things.
The best part is now we could get Carl Weathers.
And Dragon, oh my god. Dare I say the whole cough in your arm thing is more could you imagine Combat Carl doing a COVID thing?
Combat Carl is now the most relevant Disney character.
That's what I'm saying. All right. Anyways.
So essentially, what happens is Buzz Lightyear Star Command. It got the syndication order, which like Batman. Many shows at that time, especially kind of the '90s and the early 2000s, got basically you get okayed for 65 episodes, and usually that's the end of it. There usually is not. It's not supposed to be like another season. It's basically 65 episodes diversified upon like maybe a season or two. They get okay for 65 episodes, and essentially they get kind of like a reverse thing happening here, where they get a movie but no finale. And the idea was that they were basically, let's turn the first 3 episodes into a movie in lieu of a finale. So that's why Buzz Lightyear Star Command does not have a finale, but they worked on it at the end of the show. That's why there's no finale. They do the show in advance. They get to the end of it, they work on their pilot, because originally it's basically you had like them just already fully established, and then like we go back and we have 3 episodes or just a movie for home video that we could tack on at the start of it to get people to watch the show. It's a crazy topsy-turvy way they ran the business back then. But again, this allowed them, they already had everything figured out, so that's why this movie, I think, looks as good as it does. They were able to push the animation a little bit, you know, it's kind of why the lighting's really great in certain scenes, they have some extra
The scale is one of the things I mentioned, like the big Z's on Zurich homeland and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of basically there's a polish kind of like Batman Sub-Zero that wasn't always there in this show. And like my favorite part of this movie, too, that allows is that it's just kind of like, it's not just funny and kind of the spectacle of it all. Like, there's a solid arc for Buzz Lightyear. He goes from rookie to leader, which again is kind of like there's kind of a safety in numbers moral to the piece. It's quite nice. Anyway, I'm almost done. So basically, we bring in the Kim Possible guys. We bring Mark and the Big Hero 6 guys now. Mark McCorkle and Bob Schooley. This is them before Kim Possible, after Hercules, though. So that's kind of where they're at in their careers. I forgot
they did Hercules.
Yeah, they did a lot of stuff, Tiki. I think I forget if they did The Little Mermaid or not, but they did a lot of the tie-in stuff. They kind of add the humor and the team aspect, because before it was kind of like Buck Rogers. It was kind of Buzz Lightyear alone in space doing stuff. Now, here's the thing you got to know about. So Pixar loved Wayne Knight as Zurg, but at this point, they were working on Toy Story at full pace. When they saw this, like, oh God, is it? They kind of could have had a V8 moment where, oh man, we should have got him to play Zurg instead of Andrew Stanton, but... Too late. And last thing, this is the most pivotal thing in the whole piece. Pixar has a really odd, strained relationship with Buzz Lightyear Star Command.
Yeah, see, maybe that's why it's not on Disney Plus.
That's what I'm saying. I think if I'm to fill in the blanks, that's why, and it makes me really worried for if we're ever going to get it on Disney Plus. See, what happened is, I mean, I can't say this with certainty, but it feels to me that because this wasn't their baby, they didn't animate this. They sent Jeff. The only Pixar eyes you had on this project was Jeff Pigeon, who was a story man. He did the voice of the aliens in the movie. So he's there giving notes and giving the thumbs up on certain things and basically giving approval from Pixar, ipso facto, this guy. And I imagine the majority of it was the whole Disney Pixar politics of the time, the whole like anti-Eisner thing.
Oh yeah, sure.
I imagine this was kind of like another reason they don't look kind of fun. Like they didn't really have involvement on it, and they're already in the thick of it with Toy Story 2, and it's. And that's the thing. It was not their show, and they always. I imagine that was kind of the reason. Like Pixar's always had a hands-off stance with a really weird hands-off stance with Buzz Lightyear Star Command. It's a shame because it's fantastic. I felt like they would. If they watched it, I think they'd love it. They'd love it. But man, c'est la vie, and ultimately, we're gonna get the opening of Toy Story 2. So It's all very ironic, given that Toy Story originally opened with a Buzz Lightyear cartoon, but then that ended up being the video game opening of Toy Story 2. So it's all rather ironic the way things work out. Well, we get the Buzz Lightyear cartoon, but say la vie.
Sure, sure.
All right, so without further ado,
Dragon, I have one more question for you in regards
sure.
to nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we brought this up during our Toy Story 2 talk. Did you ever play the Toy Story 2 video game?
I was not lucky. Okay, let me tell you this. So I played the Toy Story 2 game on Game Boy Advance, and
Okay.
no, not Game Boy Advance. It wasn't even. It was just Game Boy.
Game Boy. All right, all right. I know exactly what version you're talking about.
And I
All right.
replayed it about a month or two ago. So I mean, I've played it.
Really?
I love this thing, man. I could, but I knew about the other game. I didn't have the system. I don't think I had the
Yeah,
system.
the N64 version is where it's at.
I did not have that, but I looked at it. I was kind of coveting it as a kid. Like, oh man, look at that.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those like kind of like SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom style, like really high quality IP platformers. Anyways,
But you know what's funny? I'm just wanting since you brought up the video game thing real quick is that as a kid that game it took me forever to get through the Toy Story 2 Game Boy game. But when I replayed it like a couple months ago, I got through it in like an hour.
Yeah, yeah. That's a funny thing about video games.
I remembered every single thing about it though, and maybe that helped me, maybe it didn't. I don't know, but it was thoughts.
No, that'll happen. That'll happen with childhood games. That like I have that with Super Mario World and some other games where it's just like the more you play it, the more it's like okay, like I know this like the back of my hand now. All right, so Dragon, let's talk the Toy Story framing device. So obviously, I mean, look, folks, we could talk blue in the face. We could do a whole podcast about like the meta narrative of like, hey, this VHS tape, exists in the Toy Story universe. It's Wayne Knight doing the voice. Does that mean that the Al from Al's Toy Barn is doing the voice? Like, we don't know. We've talked blue in the face about that, Dragon. So I feel like our opinions on the meta quality of this are well documented at this point.
Oh yeah.
But let me highlight my boy Wallace Shawn.
Yeah.
Because Wallace Shawn, I feel like, of course, Rex is like one of the highlights where just how anxious. I love how it's like we get a little taste of the original Toy Story crew, Dragon, with specifically with Rex and Woody, where Woody is obviously, as he usually is, he's kind of like the father figure to the group. He's like, all right, we're gonna watch this VHS tape, but we're gonna do it in a really timely manner, and Rex is just like, no, I want it now.
Oh yeah, and it's the Toy Story framing device. It was a big draw. It's a fun gimmick too, because you gotta imagine when they're hyping the main shot they use for advertising for this, as you can probably guess, is the army men walking that VHS tape into the room. It's like, hey, coming soon, kids! Like, oh my, I have to have this. Look at this. It's in the movie. It's in the universe. I can own a piece of the Toy Story world this way. Look at
pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, and also you gotta remember this also bled into the show's opening because every time because they love this so much, I guess they opened again just in case anyone there was any like fear that kids wouldn't tune in, they would replicate kind of this framing device, and that the toys are putting on the Saturday morning cartoon of Buzz Lightyear Star Command, and they change it up a little bit each time. Sometimes Buzz when he flies, and sometimes he slam right into the screen. Sometimes he have a perfect landing. Sometimes Zurg would shoot at him. It's a lot of fun, like little gags they put at the top there. And it had an awesome introduction, like the skilled, ever vigilant Buzz Lightyear, like a narrator was awesome.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I love the. But yeah, it's them. They're Jim Hanks as Woody and Andrew Stanton as Ham. I have no idea why they didn't get John Ratzenberg for Ham, but they used Andrew Stanton, who did the scratch of Ham and Toys. So it's weird. I'm pretty sure they got the ABC crew to do that. They did the bumpers on ABC, and they did like the CD-ROM game, I think. So that same crew did the opening for these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's always a cool friend. Again, we could talk blue in the face about how meta and how cool it is. I could speculate about how this now ties into the forthcoming movie, but
of course, yeah.
Let's not worry about that till actually the movie comes. All right, so Okay, so basically let's kind of talk the highlight reel. I like kind of plant some nostalgic flags here and get the little convo going on here. So let's talk about the Crater Viper sequence. So I've always loved the opening of this movie. What did you think?
Yeah, it's got a great opening to it. Of course, we establish warp dark matter and Dragon. I love how the movie later calls out, "My name's Dark Matter, for God's sakes." You didn't see that coming.
I love Diedrich Bader. So of course, one of the great Batmans in the Batman Brave and the Bold. Diedrich Bader is he's such a good actor, and I've always loved him for Warp Dark Matter because he just played this movie. I think is some of the best stuff because at the start of this movie, you get to see such a great buddy cop dynamic with him and Buzz, and it's just there's a
You're
trust.
kind of expecting the whole movie to be this sort of like dynamic of like, oh, this guy's like, he's loosey goosey around the rules, and Buzz is very strict about the rules. How's this going to play out?
The big subversion. We kill him off in quotes.
Dragon, how big is he? How big is he in the show?
He's so again, he was Zurg's top guy. Whenever Zurg didn't want to be there in person, he would send Warp. So Warp appears quite a great deal, and there's kind of like a Loki dynamic where he's he doesn't get redeemed, but there's like sometimes we would tease up a redemption, and there's this great episode where he and Buzz are captured and they have to kind of work together, get out of a situation, which brings back their friendship, and in a sense, but it's Warp Dark Matter, so you can imagine it doesn't get that far. But it's that's what I'm saying. This was a big moment. But yeah, I'm saying I love the whammo blammo of it all, Tiki. It's just such a great kind of like little snippet of what the possibilities. So we start off like the little welcome from Buzz Lightyear, the mission logs, the whole Gamma Quadrant thing we kind of glimpsed in the first Toy Story. It's a lot of fun. And something I should have mentioned at the start, I'm going to mention now. So Tim Allen does the voice of Buzz Lightyear in this movie. Now, they already had Patrick Warburton, so if you look in this movie, Tim Allen had to dub all his lines over Patrick Warburton's dialogue for this.
Yeah.
Which, it's a little unfortunate we couldn't get Tim Allen to kind of like, you get a sense he's kind of trying to fit some words in his mouth, but still, I don't know if I'm just nostalgia blind, I entirely probably am on this, but it's just, I've listened to the two versions. I've watched the two versions. It just never sounds as great as it was with Tim Allen in the voice for this one. Even though I love Patrick Warburton in the role,
Yeah, to me, it's kind of like almost like a passing the torch sort of thing. Like,
yeah.
You have the original voice actor in for the pilot, and then Warburton kind of takes over after that.
Exactly. Two excellent voices for sure. Obviously you can't beat Tim Allen because he is Buzz Lightyear, but it's. But again,
Patrick Warburton, obviously we just talked about him in terms of Emperor's New Groove earlier this month.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really go wrong with him, really.
Can never go wrong with Warburton, man. He does the voice of the LGMs in this still. Like that's Warburton. So yeah, again, the banter, the history, like we established, so much fun here. It's a pretty simple mission: save the LGMs. It felt like the Buzz Lightyear ride to me as a kid. I was so geeking out about it.
Well, Dragon, that's interesting that you mentioned that because I feel like the Buzz Lightyear ride is very much like Disney doesn't really acknowledge it that much, but it is very much based on Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
It is, and that's the weirdest thing. Again, because of that little divide, they just refuse to reference it in the ride.
Yeah.
It just baffles me. Like, why, guys? Just watch the show. You'll love it.
I feel like if they did like a like a full-on revamp of that ride and just put all the Star Command characters in there, like it could like I like the ride now, Dragon. I do feel like it's a little dated compared to stuff like Midway Mania. But, I really think if they could do, like, a full-on, like, or maybe even retheme it to Lightyear, that'd be kind of crazy.
It would be crazy. I'd be interested.
Could you imagine hyper-realistic Buzz Lightyear ride?
It'd be, maybe. Yeah.
All right. Anyways.
Let's see. So, of course, we're blasting hornets. We have the giant kind of mutant crater viper creature, and I guys love the action. Like we're doing cool stuff with the jetpacks. Like we're trying to lift the thing, and we just like Gemini split. Like really, it's just cool in the field stuff with Buzz. A lot of whammo blammo action, like kind of like a Bond. But yeah, it's like the opening of the Toy Story 2. Like we're going up against Zurg, but Buzz has a buddy, and then we get to one of the most honestly, the most impactful thing in the whole movie for me as a kid: the loss of Warp Dark Matter.
Yeah, it's I will say, Dragon, I think that they kind of like, that they linger on the point of Buzz not needing, Buzz not wanting a partner a little bit heavily in this movie for my taste. It's a little bit like it feels like we get the same scene of like, I told you I don't need a partner a little too much, but the scene itself is, it's really well done for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree that you can bring it up a lot. By the way, we need to do it at least 3 times because it can be offered 3 partners. I think that's their logic. But yeah, I mean, Nebula also yells at him a lot. And we kind of reiterate the same. Fair point. Fair point. But here's the thing. Just the loss, the scene itself. Again, I was really touched. It really touched the core with me seeing Buzz Lightyear deal with loss as a kid. Just seeing like this really kind of brave sacrifice of just, well, again, seemingly brave sacrifice given what happens, but just seriously, it's the whole sacrificial nature of it. And you know me, I love, especially with the Tim Allen role, I love Tim Allen doing drama, which is so rare. And this was always like a big, oh my God, Tim Allen doing a dramatic scene as Buzz Lightyear having lost his partner after we have that epic sacrifice where he hits the button like, go! It's like, no, we're partners. And he hits the button and he just blasts off, man. It was, and the lighting and everything. That's what I'm talking about. Jade Animation really did some excellent work in this thing. And then honestly, it's the funeral too, like him giving a really touching eulogy too. But I gave you a really good eulogy, which he did. Again, just Tim Allen doing the drama, and I love like him clearing the locker and everything. It was the arc on Buzz Lightyear I found very compelling because he works alone to avoid this feeling again. That's what we're not explicitly saying with the whole partner thing. It's like you could read it as, he's just trying to, keep people safe, because again, he is always in the crossfire between him and Emperor Zurich, and it's always like a very, kind of very knuckle down, drag out sort of affair. But yeah, it's just still like Buzz hates feeling this way. He hates feeling responsible for the loss. He hates just kind of loss itself. So that's kind of like he's just trying to eliminate the problem by he's going to go solo, which I don't know is always. There's always this. We took the hallmark of friendship of Buzz and Woody from Toy Story, and we've kind of ingrained it into the series with kind of how friendship really kind of is a big thing with Buzz Lightyear and kind of how he values his crew and everything as we kind of introduce them to him in this movie. So I always thought that was kind of a powerful element to the thing.
Oh.
Yeah. So speaking of Star Command, just kind of in general, let's talk Mira Nova.
Right. So there's 2 bits of world building I want to talk about, Dragon.
Sure.
Number one, which will lead into Mira. I love how all these Star Command officers and the people in training and everything, they all have the same color scheme and general design. I love how unified it is.
Oh yeah.
And number 2, something that we should probably mention before we get into the grander scheme of the story, just because it's a really cool bit of world building, is the mind link with the little green men.
Yes, the mind link. So the mind link was a really interesting idea. It's kind of like they found a reason for the whole ooh, like they always go through the sequence. It's like, why do they do that? Why are the LGMs like always kind of like, so of course they're kind of mocking kind of like cults and stuff a little bit in the first Toy Story, like they're all like worshiping this worshiping kind of this claw-like deity. But I like that we found a way to kind of do that with it, but in a very different capacity. I always love the idea in my mind says that the Pizza Planet had a cross promotion with the Buzz Lightyear Star Command cartoon. That was always my headcanon for how that works. Because later on, Tiki, I know
sure.
If you ever get the chance to watch the show or you track down however you do it, there is an episode where they bring Pizza Planet into the show.
No way! How does that work?
It's basically it's really funny. It's really mundane. So Buzz and Booster are brought in to dedicate basically the opening of a new food chain, which is Pizza Planet.
Wow!
Planet. Essentially, it's a planet of it's kind of like what's the Gulliver's Travels, like big people.
Oh, okay, the Lilliputian planet.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So anyway, but the point being that's a fun one too.
Right. And by the way, I'm just going to throw this out there. Yeah. Pizza Planet, one of the most wasted opportunities of an Imagineering concept ever.
Yeah, and it's a thing. The only time I've been into a Pizza Planet was obviously in the Disney park, and it was just the inside. It was just like
it was nothing.
I know. I mean, I'll admit they had some cool Buzz Lightyear stuff set up, but it was not Pizza Planet.
Yeah, it's like if they really just wanted to do I don't know about COVID times with all the interactive elements, but they wanted to do a brick by brick kind of like Cars Land style recreation of Pizza Planet, man. Can you imagine that?
I'm just saying, do at least a room with black light and stuff, just to make it look like. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Even if you themed it to Toy Story a little bit more, just kind of generic alien stuff like we had in there, it's still it's like, dude, like replicate the experience. You walk in there in the black light, and then it's like,
Yeah, replicate the walking in with the sensors and the robots and stuff.
Yes, like you get the essentials, and then maybe you Toy Story up a little bit. But anyway,
you got to have a crane game with the LGMs. That's essential.
Yep, I mean, yeah. Maybe once in a while you put a Buzz Lightyear in there, like a plush or something, like put like a Buzz Woody in there. It's like just within the. That'd be awesome. Anyway, we're speculating it anyway. So, tell Disney how they should run things. Let's. But I've always the training sequence is really cool because it shows basically the stroke of genius they had with in approaching the shows. Like, let's do it like the Green Lanterns. Like, it's a whole corps of them. Like, anyone could be
right.
They're space cops, which essentially is how we played Buzz in Toy Story.
I think that's one of the things that Pixar wasn't a fan of was the unified design.
It's just baffling why they wouldn't use these characters because they are really cool. And again, it's just I don't think they honestly just feels like they can never bring themselves.
You don't think we're gonna get there? Like, you don't think there's any chance of like any sort of crossover? Like, I know this is breeding into like speculation, but you don't think there's any sort of crossover potential with some of these characters in Lightyear?
See, that's the really interesting thing, Tiki, because just to kind of get in just a little bit of it here is that our core characters, like Booster, Mira, and XR, they will not be in this movie. I can bet you that because again, this is a younger Buzz Lightyear. This is how he goes from rookie to ranger. Right now, he's going from ranger to leader. That's what this movie is. But that's what the whole the series is in a nutshell. But regardless, Nebula. That's the one I'm curious about. If Commander Nebula will be in this movie, in the Lightyear movie, because he's the one who, of all the characters, like he and the LGMs, that's the big question if they're going to be in this. Because if they don't, that's them saying they're doing their own thing. Because if the LGMs aren't there, that's going to be that one's going to be a rough one to explain. Nebula, you could always say
potentially that would be a big one.
Nebula, you could always say he got a different boss at some point in time, like he just came up the ranks. But Nebula's a long shot. But I mean, the aliens, that one's going to be how they work those. I think there's going to ultimately, it's unfortunately the evidence is pointing them going their own way and learning kind of like there was some there's been a little bit of bad blood with Pixar and the show.
But then again, the LGMs were originally Pixar creations, so
that's what I'm saying too. But I don't know. It's the whole like if they're gonna be okay with the
Dragon. I mean, honestly, I'd be shocked if Disney didn't want to do like a Minion style LGM resurgence.
I'm just saying right now. I mean, you've seen some of this Pixar Fest merchandise, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, man. If it's a no-brainer, like yes, let's do LGMs and everything, man. Absolutely, I agree. I mean, everyone always has a good feeling when they see the LGMs. It's
when I first saw the poster for Despicable Me, I swear to God, I thought the Minions were just LGMs. Like at a glance, like it was like the poster was like across the room, so it wasn't like I was staring right at it. But I swear to God, I was like, "What? An LGM movie?"
Anyway, getting back on refocus. I'm sure we're going to bring up Lightyear a few more times as this goes on. But anyway, so Nicole Sullivan. So pre-She-Go, she's playing Mira Nova. So Tika, it's just so interesting that I love Nicole Sullivan. The reason I love Nicole Sullivan, it's been ingrained in me with these two shows, with Kim Possible and with Buzz Lightyear. I love how opposite her characters are. Mira Nova is such a cool character, man. She's very earnest. She's very plucky. She's down to earth yet plucky. She's Buzz in his rookie days. Like she's the ultimate rookie. Like she's Buzz's equal as a rookie, being the idea.
Right.
And she's not 100% sure of herself, but she's very competent. She's very capable. She has like kind of that Canadian charm to her. A little bit of that, and compared to She-Go, who's like all business, all cynicism, just complete opposite.
Yeah, I really like how she's a Disney princess that doesn't really fit into that archetype.
Yeah, and they on the series they do all sorts of cool stuff about like her having a fraught relationship with her father. Her father's like a real kind of snooty. He's kind of he looks down the other species because the Tangeans, because they can phase through things and they can like kind of read people's minds with their powers and do stuff like that. They view themselves as really hoity-toity, like they're at the top of the food chain as far as alien species go. They're kind of like royals, and they always look down like people who can't face their walls as like kind of monkeys on the evolutionary scale. So So yeah, she's always she kind of broke the mold on that, and her father is not too happy with her being a space ranger. But that's absolutely Tiki. It's like she's a princess. That's a princess I give it. And again, unfortunately, we can't put her along the ranks because Disney, well, they don't put this anywhere. Unfortunately, the level 10 moment I thought was awesome, where she really shows herself. Like Buzz Lightyear trains at level 9, she survived level 10.
Yeah.
Also, Adam Carolla's Commander Nebula is kind of like this J. Jonah Jameson boss, which is really...
I had no idea that was Adam Carolla. That's funny.
Yeah, and he's really fun too. He always always doing like kind of the loudmouth kind of Jameson sort of thing. It's so fun. Of course, imagine his dynamic with XR continues, and it's really hilarious.
Right.
So let's talk the breakouts there. I think, and this is one Booster actually made into one of the Toy Story tie-in comics. That's as much as they've ever acknowledged the Buzz Lightyear Star Command thing, where we've worked in Booster into like one of the like Boom comics before Disney got their hands on the comic. But before Disney Marvel, you know what I mean. Anyway, point being, Booster. Let's talk about him.
All right, Dragon. Here we go. I think this is where the generational divide between the two of us is going to happen. I'm not a Booster fan.
Really? That's surprising. I thought you.
I don't. I mean, I am more of an XR guy when it comes down to like the two of them, but no, Booster to me is just like super immature. Like he kind of represents the sort of humor where when I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm watching a kid show. All right, this is definitely made for children.
I mean, I'll admit, Booster, he's more of kind of like also, you remember how hilarious this was growing up, where it's like, the first Booster is technically Jingle All the Way. No one likes you, Booster.
God.
But again, I'm as a kid,
nobody does like Booster, Dragon.
Well, eventually I'm going like, oh, come on, Booster's awesome. Not the big pink furry one. No one likes that guy. But no, this Booster is that I felt. But Stephen First doing the voice of Booster, fanboy from Freakazoid, same guy. But yeah, I always like Booster. I'll admit, it's mainly like a cutesy factor. Like, oh, this guy. Like Buzz Lightyear took this guy under his wing, and the guy, he's a procedure knight. He's earnest as all get. Basically, the thing I think the kind of the key to the code with Booster is that in looking at the Toy Story franchise, we took Rex, a character. We tried to do a character like Rex in Buzz's universe, which ended up being Booster, who's kind of like the earnest, kind of timid one. But yeah, your heart goes out to him, at least in most cases, I guess. You know?
Yeah.
It kind of has an arc, too, where it's not a big arc. I mean, fundamentally, it's the same guy at the end, but the idea, he's good at his job, and he kind of builds a little bit of confidence as things go on. Is like kind of him going from janitor to like ranger by the end of it. So, it's I always loved like Buzz Lightyear covering for him, like Booster. You're not supposed to be in like where the ships are launching in the launch bay. He's like, I know, I just want to see him. I was really like, I love the idea. I get the impression that Buzz has like been tutoring Booster on how to become a space ranger. It's always really kind of nice, He built a little. He's like the Jimmy Olsen, the Buzz Lightyear Superman. It's kind of cute.
I could see the Jimmy Olsen comparison, sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So I like the fact that this is one of the things I remember this movie pretty well, Dragon, but I always forget that we have this kind of like solo mission with just Buzz and XR in the middle of it, and that's honestly one of my favorite parts of the movie. Because we have like Buzz. Of course, we have this arc with him not wanting a partner, and the closest thing to not having a partner is like, well, here, take this metal man who's very no nonsense. Literally, is going to be a copy of you with his of his programming, and most importantly, if he dies, we can put it back together, no problemo.
That was great.
And so I really like the. Like I said, Dragon, out of everything in this movie, this is one of the things that kind of like slips my memory, but it's really funny when it does come up, where like it is just a great kind of like Buzz being put in his place of like, sometimes with XR copying him, it's almost just like, oh God, I sound like that kind of humor.
But yeah, XR was always a standout of the show for sure. I mean,
I think for me, he's definitely my favorite character from all the episodes I've seen.
It's like the perfect mixture of R2-D2 and C-3PO. Like, what if you gave C-3PO R2's kind of bubbly personality, but kind of gave kind of looks essentially like he has like the head of C-3PO. Like, what, that's what I'm saying. It's like R2's been a stand. Of course, he's voiced by hilarious. They had two actors for XR. It wasn't like they lost the other actors. That sometimes Larry Miller is the predominant voice of XR. He's the voice in the movie, and then they got Neil Flynn, a sound-alike, to do him throughout the series. And both are great. Both represent the character very well, and of course there is very funny. And but I love the movie has something XR usually does not have. The movie has that what you brought up, Tiki. It has kind of that arc, that kind of the two versions of XR, and I always loved it because XR being the loophole for the partner thing is a really inspired idea, as you said. But also the thing that always stuck with me as a kid, kind of like the warp dark matter moment, was again the thing this has not the series does not always have, is that we had kind of a sad moment where, even though we know XR can be rebuilt, you feel like, oh man, poor XR, he's doing so well in the mission, and Warp Dark Matter again, Agent Z at this point, is blasting the Kingdom Come, and it's like, Ranger Down or something like that. It's so sad just seeing like this poor, like, kind of by the book XR. And the reason it really feels sad is because he earned Buzz's respect. Like, we'll make a Ranger of you. Yeah, it's like, he's really impressed by him, and Buzz Lightyear again, like it's like the old. We set him back. Buzz is starting to change, and then we set him back. He invested a little bit into this guy, and then what happens? He gets killed, in quotes. So
Right.
So the curse is back. Buzz is going to set back a little bit in his arc. Loss of a new friend, but again, loophole, because like what the animation, like kind of the old network standard. He's a robot. It's fine. We can do whatever we want.
It's fine. Yeah,
we killed him. Then we get the hilarity of XR, who's rebuilt wrong because the Unimind link is disturbed, because Zurg is like taking the Unimind, which will break that down in a second here. That'll happen, but they take the Unimind. The LGMs lack their kind of united kind of intelligence and everything, so they're basically build him wrong, which leads to developing like a Johnny Five personality from Short Circuit. But he's Mr. Personality. He's a schemer. He's a little cowardly. Like, this is the last guy you want being a space ranger, but it's awesome. He's always had a great design, great personality, and the pairing of him with Booster was always quite fun. The opposites of the two of them are. I think would you agree that the duo of them kind of compensates?
Booster is best when he is with XR, yes. Yeah. But the thing is, I honestly think that in the pairing, XR just kind of like overshadows him. That's the thing.
I don't mean this to sound like just me trying to sell Tiki on things he's already said he's going to watch eventually. I'm just going to go for it anyway, folks. Just bear with me. Tiki, there's some excellent solo XR episodes, man. Again, the whole XL thing. He's got a brother.
Yeah, I believe you.
Awesome, my God, you love it. Okay, all right. Okay, let's talk the big man. Let's talk Mr. Knight, Wayne Knight. Let's talk Zurg's evil plan. Let's talk the evil Emperor Zurg, man.
So Zurg is pretty much the closest thing that Disney has ever gotten to a straight-up Dr. Evil villain dragon.
Yeah, because of the whole Schooly and McCorkle of it all, I'd say he's kind of like he's like a proto Dr. Draken. Like, before we do Dr. Draken, we do Zurg, but the difference is Zurg is more menacing. He's more menacing, but equally as hilarious at times.
I mean, I just use the Dr. Evil comparison just because it's like he is menacing, but by the same token, it's so hard to take him seriously based almost exclusively on the delivery.
I agree. That's a good comparison too. I mean, it's just, obviously there's, I love, much like Dr. Evil, Zurg deals with mundanity so much. I just love that. Basically, like, mundanity always kind of, basically, here's the other comparison I give you. A lot of comparisons you can make for Zurg, apparently, but I got a little bit of Mojo Jojo in him and how he deals with the mundanity. Like, he's doing his evil plan, he's a little menacing, but then we kind of deflate the balloon a little bit with comedy. When he's just like, basically his henchmen were like trying to make pleasantries with him. No, I didn't actually want to know about your life. Stop.
Right.
And like all of his, basically his Star Command equivalent on Planet Z is he's got grubs and he's got the brain pods, and the idea is he tried to compensate with the LGMs by taking the biggest brains and literally make them all brain, as if that's going to make them smarter. It's like basically a lot of over the top evil compensation, which is just really funny. It's just It's just the whole. He's got a whole plan, a giant tower in the shape of his head to compensate for his ego.
Uh-huh.
It's like the whole evil corporate ladder. It's just a lot. Zurg's always been a lot of fun, and also Zurg is like one of those designs, man. It always just clicked. I mean, Zurg is an insanely, instantly cool design you can't beat. I mean,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
obsessed over Zurg as a kid, man. I still
Of
obsess.
course, that's one of the. I would say that's probably to this day the coolest part of the Buzz Lightyear ride is seeing the full blown Zurg animatronic, right?
Yes, yes. Oh my God, it's just like here's the thing. For years I tracked down like a Zurg that was the actual size of Buzz Lightyear. I could only get the one from the show, but not the
Oh
one
yeah,
from Toy
right,
Story 2
right.
until like a couple of years later when they did like the whole collector's line. Now I can go to the Disney store, I can buy a Zurg that is like it doesn't shoot the little yellow balls, but does everything else. All right, let's see. So let's talk about Zurg's plot specifically before we move on here. So the plot essentially is to take out the LGM's effectiveness, to take out Star Command, and also in learning. Basically, it all comes together once we learn that their homeworld has this literalized force. It's like the Force, but it's like literalized into a giant planet, little orb thing. And the coolest thing I never picked up on to like recent viewings a while back, the Unimine is in the shape of the Pizza Planet logo.
Oh God, it is. You're right.
If you look at, I mean, it's not pizza, yeah, obviously, but it's because they have like little pepperoni and mushrooms and stuff on the little logo. But yeah, it's like the idea. It's like it's pretty much it's the ultimate Pizza Planet tie-in with all this stuff. And the claw brings it out. As a kid, I was, oh my God, there's the claw! Look, that's where they're getting the claw from. And again,
yeah.
If you overthink it, it's like, well, I mean, it's more just coincidental, but obviously they put it in there because of Toy Story. Like, don't overthink it. It's cool. Just leave it. And also, the creepiest thing still gets me is when Zurg touches this thing, he turns the good Unimine evil. So he can, as XR puts it so wonderfully, Zurg's evil ventriloquist act is the plan. He's going to basically be able to control everyone like a dummy all over the Earth with his basically the way the Unimine works with all the LGMs being on the same wavelength. There's that creepy howling sound effect when he like I can't do it justice obviously, but it's just like you hear like this unsettling evil noise when he just turns it purple and dark and like near dead. It's like, oh God, it's creepy.
Yeah, and then of course, the movie has like a little bit of a possession element to it, which is also creepy unto itself.
Yeah, it leaves all of our Rangers, huddled together in that tiny little X1 spaceship. It's like, oh God, look at that. They're so alone right now. As that brings us to the last set piece of it all, the assault on Planet Z. So our Space Rangers, again, not quite a team yet, but they're kind of banded together, as a makeshift team, taking on Zurg's forces, which leads to the reveal who our Boba Fett-esque Agent Z is.
Yeah, and I just like how like you alluded to with the with the eulogy thing. I like how cocky they are with it. It's just like, oh, just replaying the eulogy.
I think the funniest thing is that Zurg, he's so petty. He has a whole catalog of these Buzz Lightyear failing moments. Plays to himself and he rewinds, and oh God, it's just it's so funny. But yeah, the Agent Z things. Of course, by the way, Agent Z was I'll admit, it's like something they could only get away with in like their pilot movie thing, because obviously we have Warp Dark Matter in the series. Like the Agent Z thing's just kind of like it's kind of like an afterthought, but it's kind of cool. Giving the metal arm was always a cool design thing. We gave him like this cool multi-purpose kind of metal arm that can shoot things. This little claw thing. It was always. I mean, metal arms are cool. I mean, look again. Basically, I love the idea now. Looking at it years later, is that we kind of did a reverse Winter Soldier in a sense, where what if Cap couldn't redeem Bucky? What if he couldn't reach his buddy? What if we learned his buddy isn't out of his mental faculties? He was just corrupt from the beginning.
Oh God!
Which again,
that's a dark way to go about the Bucky storyline. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he was working for Hydra the whole time. That's
oh God!
Okay, you made it. No, I'm just gonna shoot you now because I'm part of it. But yeah,
pretty much, you're not wrong.
Yeah, and again, like you get to see him actually get on the take in the Academy in that one episode where they're kind of paired together. It's really cool. But yeah, I just love how he's just so glib too. He's just so, as you say, so cocky. He's so glib, and And again, Buzz Lightyear's making the final mission log as he's calling out for help is quite nice. And I love that we hilariously clip all of the potential outs when Warp's just trying to get through Buzz's head. Oh, evil clone, robot, mind control, like the mind link thing. Like, no, I've been on the take since the academy, partner. It's like I'm corrupt, I'm dirty. You feel so bad for Buzz, but also it's a genius.
I will admit that is kind of an original thing that they do with the twist, because, like you said, it's usually some sort of like Winter Soldier-esque thing. But the fact that the fact that the betrayal came even like when we met him, he had already betrayed Buzz. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of adds like another layer to it almost.
As you said earlier, my name's Dark Matter. Like, how much more obvious could it be? And also, it was really cool too in a natural way. Again, not the most sophisticated thing, but I mean, I'll take it. So again, for the whole kids thing of it all, which is what it also works, is the fact that we now have a very natural out for, well, his partner's alive and evil, so Buzz is all okay for the partners now. You know, it's he's all these enter our new friends, which kind of leads to our a whammo blammo climax. Which again, it's really cool to see Team Lightyear come together and kind of this big old they all come together. They all have that moment where they all have like Zurich in the crosshairs, and they each get a cool thing to say. That's the subsection with the Evil Emperor, kind of fun stuff like that. Zurg has the ion blaster, which is huge. Like, oh my god, give them the ion blaster. It's really neat.
Yeah, and I brought this up before, Dragon, but I just want to kind of emphasize again how much I like the actual design of Planet Z. You know what I like about it, Dragon, is that we have all the big Z's everywhere, right? And that gives us a sense of scale. But it also, of course, Dragon, if you go, just to bring it back to the Buzz Lightyear ride, because you know me, that's how you get me talking about this movie is through the ride. But
shoot all
the Buzz Lightyear ride, of course. What do you have to aim at, Dragon?
The Z's.
Remember, space cadets, aim for the Z's.
Oh god, I can't tell you how many times I tried aiming for those little Z's, man. I tell you.
Oh, Dragon, going on that ride with Monkey is a painful experience. It is a painful experience. I'm just like, how are you this good?
I remember as a kid, I don't think I ever, usually when you go on vacation, you can only bring so much stuff back. And so size is kind of important. That's why I can never get the giant Star Tours thing, because it's just too big to bring back. But I remember, I don't think I ever got it as a kid. There was you could basically buy the blaster from the ride. Now I think it's impossible. At a time you could. I think they've remodeled it or something. The point being, you could take them back and have like little Z targets you could shoot at, which, I mean, it was pretty cool. Anyway, one of the other stands of the climax here is kind of the moral of the whole piece. Is I always loved as a kid. I can't tell you how many times I reenacted this scene. It sounds so sappy. I'm sorry, but it's just as a kid, I reenacted the scene where Mira pushes Buzz into the into the planet and says to infinity and beyond. You basically kind of turn everyone good again. It's like it was so. It's just the idea that Zurg touches it once, he kind of turns everyone bad in the galaxy, is entirely evil, and just like maybe a touch from someone good can help. And then Mira uses her powers again. Buzz, being a team player now, helps him save the day here. She phases him using her powers into the globe. Buzz is becoming a symbol of good, unified across the galaxy. That's an awesome moment. Like look at him save the galaxy and everything. Look at him make everyone good again. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And basically, we kind of reward Team Lightyear. We have a little medal ceremony, Buzz. We have a solution to a little.
Gee, I wonder where they got this idea.
Yeah, I always love that Buzz Lightyear. Again, you gotta remember one of the gags with Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story is that he's a very big ripoff of Star Wars. Unabashedly.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, not even before we get to Zurg.
Basically, the idea with him is that he is essentially one of those 80s franchises that tried to copy Star Wars.
I know, and I love it.
Except what if it was actually successful?
Yes. It's also ultimately it's kind of a blend of it's Star Wars, which then turns into Star Trek, which is so trippy. And given how things turned out years later, we get the Star Trek guy on the Star Wars. It's weird. It's really funny how the world works. So again, Buzz's partner problem is solved. He's got Team Lightyear. They had again. Essentially, he's got his own Star Trek crew, and they go on adventures, parts unknown, and little medal ceremonies because Let's bring it all back.
All right, to infinity and beyond, Dragon. Final thoughts.
All right, final thoughts from me. Did you want to go first, or?
No, go ahead, and then I can round it out.
Okay, I'm gonna talk legacy here. So I've
legacy. What is a legacy?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, I've never heard a negative word about. I've never heard like a truly negative word about the series or the movie or the whole shebang. Because that's also, folks, we're mainly talking about the movie here. But again, we're kind of as you can kind of tell by the conversation, we're broaching the series a little bit. Because it's been 20 years and they both started the same year, so it's kind of take what you will from it. Point being, I've never really heard a negative word about this series, and it's a shame that it got buried over time. Maybe that's why we don't hear more talk about it, because again, so little people have seen it, because you either saw it when it aired or you've caught it on YouTube somewhere.
But like I said in the intro, Dragon, the people that did watch it, it had a big impact on those people. So it's one of those weird, like, cult cartoons where it might not have a wide audience, but it's got a dedicated audience.
And that's what I'm saying. And not just that. I mean, it's varied over time in that there's who people have seen it, but there's also like there's like a lot of Disney had a really great TV lineup. Okay, I mean, again, I argue this gets shadowed by Kim Possible again, because you have a similar voice that ends up being in Kim Possible with this show. But again, obviously, Kim Possible it got brought back from cancellation. It went for seasons, and then people demanded more, and they got more. That's what I'm saying. And it's not like this thing got canceled. It's reached the end of its order, and just kind of unfortunately they never put it out in the world again. They just kind of call it like a phase, which I felt was a mistake, because this thing it was quite good, and it's a shame couldn't put this on DVD or anything, or at least hopefully Disney Plus down the line. It's just. I mean, yeah, got a few games, got toys, sure, but again, it's kind of the curse of the Disney home video release with the series. They never put their series out on DVD, and maybe because of the whole Disney Pixar politics of the time, maybe the whole feud going on there. I mean, fans loved it. Anyone who's seen it, I think, as Tiki said, they loved it. Again, we worked Booster into some of those Toy Story comics. Again, at least some people loved it. Put the effort and the work in there. Years later, 20 years later to the day, Buzz Lightyear Star Command may see its day in the sun with Lightyear coming out in 2022. I mean, we got Chris Evans playing Buzz Lightyear. I never in my lifetime did I think I'd see this day come. We're gonna.
It is kind of like one of those just like wild, like like a bingo card of your life, right? Like Chris Evans, Buzz Lightyear movie. Like, what are the odds those three things would hit?
Again, all of the Buzz Lightyear Star Command kind of niche of because that's the thing, they are exactly doing what this series did, but they're making it official. And that's the thing. Like, again, ultimately, it's not going to be Star Command per se anyway sliced, because this is like the origin of Buzz Lightyear, as again, that's all we really know at this point. But again, just I hope we leave it open to do like either an official Buzz Lightyear Star Command, either continue this, which is a long shot, I'm aware, or maybe like do a revamp, but hopefully maybe bring in some of those characters. I don't know. I'd like to think they're gonna maybe rework those characters in there down the line. I don't know if how Lightyear's gonna do, if they're gonna keep it a one-off. Feels like a franchiser if they do it right. Per this show being proof in the pudding, they could. Again, it could lead to a reboot at the very least. At the very least, I want this on Disney Plus, because I love the show. I love to rewatch the show with ease. I want people to be able to see the show for the first time. It's just perfect world we could have this, and Lightyear as kind of the awesome source of it all, as a tribute to our beloved Pixar character. We all know, we all love, good old Buzz Lightyear. Why not?
Right. Well, folks, thanks so much for joining us. I really enjoyed this conversation. We not only got into a lot of Buzz Lightyear Star Command talk, but also some general kind of like Toy Story media discussion as well. Talk the ride, talk the game. Dragon, you are absolutely the authority on this thing, to be sure. I'm kind of just along for the ride, but make no mistake, when this hopefully comes out on Disney Plus, I will give it a watch. It definitely seems like it ticks a lot of my boxes in terms of media that I enjoy. But as far as the actual movie goes, I think it's a really good setup. I think it's got it's got a pretty distinct sort of arc to it. I think XR is kind of the standout in terms of like you addressed. We really don't see him like in the movie. It really is kind of like a bonus. Like, all right, this is like the origins of XR. Like, in the show, he's kind of like stuck to his personality, but here he's got like a nice little arc to him. Like I said, I don't think the movie's perfect by any means. I think they kind of pounce on the whole idea of like, oh, Buzz doesn't need a partner. He's, do you get it? He doesn't want to go through the loss again. And then also just I'm not generally a big fan of Booster, but whatever. Like I said, I think that's more just kind of like me looking at it like, it's a kid show.
And
That's
Tiki
right.
the mailman, he doesn't like Booster either.
Yeah, whatever. But overall, folks, I feel like it's a really good movie, and you should check it out if you get a chance. Although that's not exactly easy these days.
Unfortunately.
So thanks for joining us, folks, and till next time when we go to infinity
And beyond.
and beyond.